is Chris, and this is the Chromoplane. It's an instrument I designed together with my musical group Passepartout Duo, and it's available now thanks to Coma Electronic. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what the Chromoplane is, how it works, and some of the ways we've been using it too. At its core, the Chromoplane is an electromagnetic synthesizer. Instead of generating audio directly through speakers or outputs, the instrument creates electromagnetic fields. You interact with these fields using pickups, essentially electromagnetic microphones that listen to the invisible sounds floating just above the surface. Actually, these pickups have been around for a long time. Nowadays, they've become beloved tools for sound artists looking to uncover the hidden electromagnetic world around us. So if I place one of these pickups on my phone or laptop, you'll hear digital chaos. But if I place it on the Chromoplane, you'll hear some pitches, some notes. The Chromoplane contains 10 analog square wave oscillators, each generating a note that's broadcast as an electromagnetic field through a coil embedded in the instrument, which is represented by a point, the perforation on the surface. But what you hear isn't just a harsh, raw square wave. The aluminum surface of the instrument also subtly softens the tone, acting like a physical filter, giving the sound a more organic texture. And because all 10 oscillators are always on, always speaking, the instrument is fully polyphonic. You decide which field to tune into, which one to listen for, by where and how you place the pickup. Or you can mix multiple notes together just by positioning the pickup coil between different fields. You can play melodies with 2 pickups. You can sweep across the surface to quickly move between pitches. You can strum or drag for multiple notes in one motion. Or you could use a headphone splitter and plug in many pickups to make rich drones. You can dangle the pickups to create pendulum-like motion. This playing method means that you are the envelope. On another synth, you'll set an envelope with attack, decay, sustain, release, and then trigger that through a keyboard or a gate signal. On the Chromoplane, you just make any envelope you want on the fly. If you want a slow attack and a long release, a short attack and a long release, a long attack and a short release, well, anything you want, really. The pickups are polarized, which means that flipping them over changes the phase of what they hear. This doesn't always affect the tone, but it does open up some cool possibilities, like phase cancellation. For example, if I place one pickup directly over a note and then place another upside down right next to it, you'll hear the volume drop. That's 2 out-of-phase signals canceling each other out. You can use this creatively too, though. One of my favorite tricks is to play what I call double notes. If you place the pickup horizontally across a field, both poles of the pickup interact equally and create a filtered out sweet spot. If you move slightly to the right or the left, you'll hear the note again. So if you move across the surface horizontally like this, you'll get double notes. Even though the Chromoplane was designed with these specific pickups in mind, pretty much, you can experiment with anything. Guitar pickups, a headphone used as an electromagnetic microphone, or DIY pickups like this one. If you want to make one of these yourself, it's pretty easy, really. You just get some enamel copper wire and wind it many, many times, like 300 times around something. A big loop area and many windings will make it really sensitive to electromagnetic fields. Now let's talk about the filter. The Chroma plane includes a voltage-controlled low-pass filter. Since the raw sound of the Chroma plane is rich in high harmonics, the filter is great for sculpting and softening its tone. You can even animate it with control voltage for more dynamic effects and movement. By the way, you can also access these thumb wheels while performing, especially if you're playing one of the pickups on the lowest row. So let's try turning the CV knob up with nothing plugged in. The filter will modulate using the pickup's audio signal, giving you this ring modulation-like effect. If you dial it in just right, you'll hear subharmonics emerge. This is one of the most distinctive sounds of the Chroma plane you can produce, and it's definitely my favorite. You can also modulate the filter using the envelope follower. That means that the envelope of the pickups, or your distance from the surface, changes the filter cutoff. Or you could use external LFOs. We can also try putting in some random voltages. With the resonance cranked all the way up, the filter starts self-oscillating. Essentially, that's turning it into a sine wave oscillator that you can then modulate with the pickups or envelope follower. Or how about a keyboard? Next in the signal chain on the Chroma plane is this lo-fi delay based on the PT2399 chip. You can control the dry-wet time and feedback through those 3 thumb wheels, and control the time through CV2. It also has an analog soft clipper, which I think gives the feedback a more natural and rounder sound. And yes, that dry signal path stays fully analog, so if the dry-wet is all the way to the dry, you just have a raw analog sound of the instrument. You can sometimes get an almost flanger or phaser-like effect if you modulate the time when the time thumb wheel is all the way to the left. You can, of course, use the envelope follower to modulate the delay, which can either create some sort of subtle pitch modulation or create something a bit more ridiculous and weird. Also, because of that soft clipper, the delay feedback will kind of duck when a note is being played. You can tune each of the 10 oscillators using these adjustment screws here. It's precise, but it's not designed for quick changes on the fly. Choosing the tuning is a big part of shaping your sound world when you approach the instrument. Because all the notes drone faintly in the background, the relationships between them really matter. A traditional chromatic scale might seem like an obvious choice, but I'd recommend starting with fifths, octaves, and other intervals that create a kind of consonant blend. Right now you're hearing the D minor centered tuning that we ship the instrument with. The octave switches and oscillator ranges also come into play. The row closest to you is the lowest, so it lends itself to lower pitches, of course. So it's better to think about putting higher notes in this top row and lower ones in the bottom row. So you can use the octave switches to lower each of these rows 1 octave. When it comes to actually tuning the instrument, though, I think there are 3 main possibilities. The first is tuning by ear. When I do this, I typically play one note on the instrument as a main reference and then tune other notes to it based on the beating and the relationship between the notes. The closer the notes are to an in-tune interval, the more stable the beating pattern becomes. This is clearest on octave fifths and unison, but it's also noticeable on all other intervals if you get used to what to listen for. I find tuning in this way really immediate and satisfying musically. It takes into consideration the relationship between all the notes on the instrument, and it's particularly interesting to me to focus on that beating when the filter CV is increased, which makes the beating even more dramatic. The second way you could tune is using the electromagnetic tuner. This basically just works like a regular guitar tuner or chromatic instrument tuner. You place it over a note and you can see what that field is tuned to, if it's flat, sharp, or in tune. The reference pitch for that tuner is always a 440. The little keyboard graphic tells you the note, and the light on the right side tells you the octave instead. Finally, you can also explore tunings through a website we put together. I think the easiest way to approach this is to have the website playing through a speaker near you while you're playing the Chromaplane. And you put the app on this thing called drone mode in the bottom left corner. And you match then each of the pitches by ear. I found this to be a bit quicker than using the tuner, which you could also use by clicking the display notes button, and then you can see what the notes are and match them using the tuner. One of the fields of the Chromaplane also has an external audio input. Now, you're always going to hear a little bit of the oscillators droning in the background no matter what you plug in here, but you'll also hear whatever you plug into it, of course. You can use this to mix in some other signals, perhaps a sequence, another oscillator, or a field recording, but you can also use it to create a feedback path on the instrument. Making a feedback path here can give us control over the filter resonance or the delay feedback using just the pickup. Remember how I said that polarity makes a difference when using the pickups? Well, when you're playing with this feedback, turning the pickup upside down also makes a completely different effect. We can also get some other kind of strange effects when altering the CV of the filter cutoff just right, since the CV is also part of the feedback loop. Feedback also gives us a chance to make any effect send we want be controlled through this pickup. Well, that's about it. If you want to check out our music or how we use the instrument ourselves, you can check out the links in the description. If you want to pick up a Chroma plane for yourself, check it out at Koma's shop online or maybe at your local synth store too.